following is an Operation Podcast production.
There's so much we can do, but the place that I think most
People fail when they're trying to change for the better is trying to do it all at once.
Yeah, 0 to 100.
Doesn't work. It never works. That's why dieting doesn't really work long term. You know, like I think changing your lifestyle slowly over time absolutely works. I'm a living, breathing example of it. I know it works. What's going on, guys? My name is Michael Chernow. I am the founder of Kreatures of Habit, a lifestyle and wellness brand rooted in nutritional habits. And I'm hanging out with Ruben on Live Through Love. Super fired up about the podcast. We covered a bunch of topics ranging from, as you would imagine, lots of love stuff, to habit, to morning routine. We talked a lot about fitness and commitment and discipline and humility and our love for our wives and our kids and things that you should not do when you're trying to change for the better. We talked about New Year's resolutions and why they kind of suck. Yeah, we talked a lot about a lot of things, but it was a great time on the podcast. I had a blast, and I hope you have a blast listening.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Through Love. I'm your host, Ruben Rojas, and thank you for tuning in. Michael, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show, to Santa Monica. You just flew in from New York, right?
I did, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I love California.
Me too. I'm born and raised here, so like on top of like, okay, we're born in America. I was born in LA. Like I think it's the coolest, most humbling thing. My wife's from Indiana, originally from Ethiopia, but she's like, why don't we move? I'm like, this is my normal.
Yeah.
Like, where am I gonna go?
Where would she want to move?
Anywhere else, because housing's cheaper. Like
Copy
on
that.
my street, there's a house for sale for $5.5 million.
Wow.
No yard. No yard. That's just your box.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, it's my normal.
Yeah, I love it out here. I lived out here in Venice in 1999 for a year on Market Street between Pacific and Speedway. I was 19 and I was an absolute animal. I'm a New York City kid. So like you and I grew up in the two, opposite cities. And I moved out here, never driven a car before. Third time I drove a car, I took my driver test.
Wow.
And somehow, some way passed. Big mistake from the DMV, for sure, for giving me my license like that. I remember so clearly, I wanted a truck bad. And I couldn't find a truck, so I settled with Chevy S10 Blazer.
I know it very well.
$900. It cost me $900. My friend drove me out to the desert. I met this guy, and he was like, Michael, this car is going to treat you like gold, man. And I was like, I didn't know anything. It was just this like old school Latin dude, just, ready to just get rid of this thing. And I didn't know anything from engines or whatever. But I gave him $900 and I drove it back to LA. And I took it to a mechanic and he was like, how much did you pay for this thing? And I was like, $900. He was like, he should have paid you $900. And, but yeah, man, I love California. All my friends from my childhood actually live out here now in Venice. So It's always great to come out here.
Yeah. You can't beat the weather.
No. That is for sure. Even though it's been kind of cloudy for the last few days.
I like it. It's nice. Just, go 20 minutes over to the west, Beverly Hills, downtown, Hollywood. It's super hot. Go to the valley. You're fine.
What's the deal? Like over here, it just takes longer to burn. They call it the burn off, right?
If it burns off. It doesn't always burn off, but a couple months ago, it was 96 degrees in Santa Monica, which is kind of unheard of. 82 is a hot day, but 96, super hot.
Yeah.
The heat wave was ridiculous.
Yeah, that is the one thing about living in New York my whole life is the cold winters and extremely hot and humid summers. Mm-hmm. That said, spring and fall, awesome.
I think my favorite time in New York is Memorial Day weekend because everyone leaves. Mm-hmm. So I tend to go in there. It's basically empty. You could sit anywhere. The weather's perfect.
There's in New York City between May and the end of June and then September to November, awesome weather. Like right now in New York, I don't live in New York City anymore. I moved about 2 hours north of New York City. I live upstate. And God, I can't. I never thought that I'd be stoked to live in the woods because I definitely live in the woods. I can't believe that it's taken me this long to get the hell out of New York City, and because I'm like, so it's so easy for me to get down to the city. Yeah. But I live in one of the most beautiful places in the country. Like the Hudson Valley of New York is just amazing. And my wife has a horse, we've got chickens. My kids, they're unsupervised all day long out on the property. It's amazing. So
fresh eggs every morning?
Fresh eggs every day. 14 of them. It's pretty cool. We don't eat 14 eggs, but, we got them. We got them.
So for our listeners, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Mike Chernow. I am born and raised in New York City. I think for whatever reason, I'm an entrepreneur. I historically have been in the restaurant business. I got my first job in a restaurant when I was 13 years old as a delivery boy, and then ended up opening up my first restaurant when I was 28. And I worked in the restaurant industry the whole way through. But going back before that, I've always thought entrepreneurially from literally as early as I can remember. Like when I was 5, I grew up on 87th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue. And I was 5 years old. I clearly remember asking my older sister to come downstairs with me so I can set up a blanket, lay out all my toys that I didn't want anymore and sell them for $1 or $2 to people. And I remember the first time I did it, and I actually sold a bunch of stuff, and people thought it was like the cutest thing that this kid was selling their toys. But there was like a feeling that I got that I was like, I'm going to do this. I really enjoyed that rush of the sale, And so I've literally, I started a dog walking business before I was 10 years old, and I was walking every single dog in my neighborhood. I was flipping baseball cards and basketball cards and comic books and doing that whole thing. But then I got a job in a restaurant, and I fell in love with the restaurant business. But really the component of the restaurant business that I think spoke loudest to me, that I ultimately found out was my kind of superpower in business and in life, was this ability to connect with human beings. Like you and I just met. I could probably sit and talk to you for hours and hours, and I'd be super stoked to do that. That is when people ask me, what is my motivation? What do I do for motivation? For me, it's, trying to get around a bunch of awesome, interesting people to just connect with and engage with. And that is ultimately the restaurant industry is like a hotbed for that, It's like what we do. And so I learned that I love that a lot at that early age. And I said, this is where I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to spend my time. And I worked in restaurants all through high school. Did a year and a half of college after high school. Realized that it just wasn't for me. Came out here for a year. Mm-hmm. Came back with my tail between my legs. And then, I made a big change in my life when I was 23 years old. Because I grew up in New York City, hanging out with a lot of New York City kids, started going out to clubs and bars when I was really young. I was working in like one of the hottest nightclubs in New York City at 16 years old. I was just exposed to the nightlife. And the nightlife in New York is amazing. It's amazing. I don't partake in it anymore. But man, I had so much fun running around the streets of New York and doing all sorts of crazy shit. But I just had so much fun. However, along that journey and in that time, I indulged like most people do in the nightlife, right? Drinking, doing drugs, sex, all of it, the whole thing. I don't regret a second of it. I don't wish I wouldn't have done it. I'm super grateful that I went through it. Mm-hmm. But at 23, I got to a place in my life where I was knocking on death's door. I took it too far. I had OD'd. Everybody was telling me, Mikey, you're going to die. And it wasn't fun anymore. It was actually the opposite of fun. It was miserable. I was miserable, and I couldn't control it. So I got lucky. I knew somebody who was in the sober community, and I had finally made the call to get sober. And I reached out, and these two dudes that I thought were very cool. I thought like getting sober was going to be the end of my life. I was like, no more fun. No more hot chicks, no more, like me boring, like in a library. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
With a cardigan.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it couldn't be further from the truth. But these two guys were Muay Thai kickboxers. And they were competitive kickboxers. And I was introduced to them, and they were like 10 years older than me. And they basically winged me. They started calling me like little brother, and they took me off the street. They brought me into a Muay Thai kickboxing academy, and they said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to this meeting every morning. Well, actually, the first thing they told me to do literally was you're going to wake up, you're going to pray, you're going to go for a run, you're going to eat a bowl of oatmeal, you're going to go to this meeting. You're going to go directly from the meeting to the gym. You're going to meet us here. We're going to kick your ass. We're going to teach you all these things about discipline, commitment, getting back up, humility, all these amazing things that I now have to hang my hat on in my life today. You're going to eat chicken and broccoli for lunch. You're going to take a nap. You're going to go to work. You're going to eat chicken and broccoli for dinner at work. And you're going to do it all over again. And that was like the life plan that they gave me. And it worked. And I replaced all the bad habits that I had. And, I was doing every drug you can imagine at, is pretty, I was beyond where I would like to think. And I was able to replace all that with these great habits with fitness, nutrition, mindset. And then slowly they started introducing more things, meditation and things like that. But yeah, man, so my life changed drastically. I became insanely passionate about fitness and nutrition and went back to school. And I know this is a long-winded bio, but fuck it.
This is great. It's an origin story.
So I went back to school. I got a degree in culinary arts and restaurant management. At this point, I was competing with my gym in Muay Thai. best shape of my life, completely changed everything nutritionally. Really built this like understanding that like if I can commit to my life on a daily basis, as opposed to I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to make sure that I hit it all month. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. Like wake up, commit to the day, positive action. Everything worked out. Just worked out. I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I became passionate about fitness, nutrition, and stuff like that. And then when I was 28, I'd been working at this Italian restaurant for 8 years. I knew it was my time to take the leap. I wrote a business plan. I put it in front of a bunch of regulars at the restaurant, and a lot of them wrote me a check, and I opened up my first business called the Meatball Shop in New York. Opened up the Meatball Shop, off the chart successful, paid back our investors in 6 months. Before we knew it, we were like cooking meatballs on Jay Leno, on Jimmy Fallon, Chelsea Handler, Good Morning America, the Today Show. It was nuts, man. Me and my childhood best friend who lives in Venice, who I'm seeing right after this. We had no idea, man. He was the first guy I got a job with at that first restaurant when I was 13. And so he and I just got like a real crash course in business, right? Like out of nowhere, we opened up this funky restaurant concept. We're selling meatballs, sides, and ice cream sandwiches. That was the concept. And and so it was like a little bit of an anomaly in New York. It was really sort of all over the place. And we raised more money. We opened up 5 more restaurants over the course of 2.5 years. He and I stopped seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. And, money became part of our life for the first time ever. We both grew up in small apartments with, secretaries for moms and dads that didn't really do much. And, we started to like make money, and like people wanted to give us a lot of money. And we had different visions for the growth. And so we had to make a decision. And I basically said, look, man, you and I are like it's a tough place. For the first time in our lives, like you and I are in a tough thing. And the idea that like going into business with your friends being tough, the shit is real.
Yeah.
It's real, And I said, look, I have another idea. I want to see if I have what it takes to do another restaurant concept. Why don't you guys buy a bunch of my equity? I'll take a board seat. Daniel, you run the company the way you want to run it. I'll support in any way I can. I want to go open up this other restaurant idea. And then you and I aren't going to hate each other forever. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we did. And then I opened up, they bought a bunch of my equity. I took a few months to like gather my shit. And I opened up a second restaurant concept called Seymour's, sustainable seafood concept. And boom, it was another hit. And I took on a partner eventually, opened up 5 more. But this time I knew that I wasn't going to want to run it forever. Mm. I wanted to make this guy the boss and scale it with him to, 3 to 4 years, and then have them buy my equity so that I can create another brand. Because I also learned that I love engaging with humans. I love creating brands. Those are like the 2 things that I learned over my trajectory, that love humans, love creating. And so in 2019, Jay and the partners bought a bunch of my equity there. And now we're here. I launched a new business in a different industry. I launched a brand called Kreatures of Habit. Obviously, habit, as we just went through, is almost killed me. Mm-hmm. And now they've sort of made me the man I am today in a positive way. And I knew that I had to align my passion for wellness personally and professionally. I went from competing in Muay Thai to endurance running and running marathons to then competing in bodybuilding. So fitness and nutrition have always been the sort of foundation of my happiness in life,
I relate to that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. We were talking about that before the show. I owe everything I have today to my sobriety first and foremost. That's, without that, I'd be probably dead. But right after sobriety, it's my commitment to fitness and nutrition. And that's given me the opportunity to have an awesome, happy, healthy marriage, have kids that I love more than anything, that genuinely love me back. Yeah, man. And so I launched Kreatures of Habit. It's a wellness brand. We sell, we make an instant and overnight superfood oat-based meal. It's made with gluten-free oats, plant-based protein. It's got 30 grams of plant-based protein, vitamin D3, omega-3 fatty acids, probiotic, digestive enzymes. It's basically an all-in-one perfect way to start your day meal. And it's what I've been eating for the last 18 years because those guys told me to eat oatmeal every single morning. And so when I was thinking about what I was going to do next for my next business, oatmeal popped up. I was like, this is the most authentic thing to me. And I've added so much shit to my oatmeal over the years. If I could buy a product that had all this stuff in it, I would be on it. Like, it's what I eat every day.
We want it as easy as possible.
Right. And so I made it. And so we launched Kreatures of Habit. It's ultimately going to evolve into a nutritional habit company. Right now, we just sell this one product in a bunch of different flavors. But we'll ultimately have habits that you can implement daily from wake up to wind down. And yeah, man, that's where I'm at. And, I'm also like an incredibly lucky husband to an amazing woman who I love with every cell in my body. And I've got these two awesome dudes, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old son that I'm like, I'm such a pushover. I'm a pushover dad. And now I'm sitting here with you.
Well, first shout out to our wives.
Yeah.
Because same here with that. I have he's about to be 20 months old. And we just found out the next one's on its way.
Yes.
So,
congrats, dude.
That's another adventure that's happening. But no, I love that. Thank you for opening up and sharing about that. There's a couple of things I want to dive into. Early on, because I know in my 20s when I lost myself to money and here we would just drive to Vegas, because LA closed early. I remember my first times going to New York, like, you're open till 4 a.m.? What is this? But where does self-love play a role in some of your journey and actually choosing sobriety, right? You started choosing yourself. What did that look like and how would you describe self-love?
Yeah, so, it's so interesting that you say that. I think that's such a great way to categorize what it is. I had to train myself. Like, I believe love at the core of everything. Human beings are put on this planet to love and be loved. Yeah. I believe that. Every action we take in some way, shape, or form, whether it's good or bad, is in the name of love. We do really amazing things to express and also to try to receive love. We also do some really, really terrible things to express and try to receive love, right? It's a double-edged sword. And I actually shared about this recently where, there's a real dark side to love too. Yeah. We all hear love and everybody's like, oh, love. And truthfully, like I have experienced both, right? Self-love for me was something that I had to learn. I had to train myself. But once I started to learn to love myself, then everything in my life changed. I don't believe that you can truly love with positivity. Again, there's two sides to this, to the coin. Love with positivity until you can learn to love yourself with positivity. And so I started doing that really right when I got sober. But I've got like an insanely long list of things that I do every single morning as part of my morning routine that are all self-love things that I do. And people are like, oh, that's so structured and robotic. And I'm like, maybe to you, to me, I love to win. I like to win. And if I can create these self-care, like self-love wins every single morning stacked on top of each other, without being selfish, like waking up way earlier than my wife and my kids and starting the day with this epic morning routine where by 6:05, 6:15 in the morning, I've just done 17 things. I'm like a bulletproof vest throughout the rest of the day because I'm like just throwing these like kisses at myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You filled your cup, so then the world can't, like, you know, a little bit will spill out, but like, dude, I'm full now.
Yeah.
Let me go out and attack the world. Yeah, I like that.
I believe that, I mean, it's not a belief, it's true. There's very few things we can control in life, right?
Very true, yeah.
We can control typically the first hour of our day and the last hour of our day. And we can control how we respond to the shit life throws at us.
Yeah.
You can't control the shit they throw at you, though. It's how we respond to it. And so you can walk through life, which I did for years, which, you know, I'd see something coming and I'd be like, run, you know? Or I could be like, I see this thing coming. It's coming. How am I gonna deal with this thing? Am I gonna run every time? Am I gonna punch it every time? What am I gonna do? And like that is the control. So I learned that like if I can set myself up in the morning with this long list that I could totally go through with you of things that I do that have just like stood the test of time for me, that by the time my wife and kids wake up, I'm like cloud 9 floating around.
Hey guys, let's go.
Yeah. Totally.
But you know, what's funny is you're saying like robotic routine. We're all creatures of habit. So whether we set our routine, someone's setting our routine for us, and that's where we could respond to life or we could react to life. And we, you know, I've gone in like, I'm in reaction mode. So the routine is the life that's being thrown at me. But if we're responding, it's like, I'm setting up how I'm going to interact. What's my routine there? So that's what I'm hearing you say. So we can control those few things. We can control also the words we use, keeping our word, showing up on time, but that's about it.
Totally.
And that's responding versus reacting, which I like to say is like we respond out of love or we react out of fear, which fear is the absence of love.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes even, sometimes I when I'm thinking about this idea, respond, react, if I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed, which happens, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a dad, husband, you know, athlete, like all the things that I love about my life are also incredibly stressful and anxiety provoking, you know, when it starts to feel like this as opposed to this, you know, when it starts to feel like that, I close my eyes, I take a deep breath, and I literally envision myself opening up a window and standing in front of the window and just letting the air in, you know, like letting the air in. Like I have this vision. That's typically where I go. Like if I need a little quick reset, boom, open the window, envision it, sun coming, hitting me in the face, air comes in, let the breeze hit my body. It's all good, dude. You know, it's all good. Let some air in. And that typically gets me like back in line, you know, even if it's for 20 minutes. Yeah. Sometimes I sit back again, you know. I like those little reset tools throughout the day. Yeah, I think I really do believe now, you know, routine is so crucial to bookend the day. What do you do when you wake up? What do you do before you go to bed? You know, and there's obviously things that you can do in the middle of the day to help you stay focused, but there's so many things getting thrown at everybody. It's not just you, me. Yeah. It's like things are just getting thrown around, you know, like, you know, looking at the news could just, you know, tank you.
That's why I turn it off.
Yeah.
So, habits. Let's really talk about habits, because I think routine habits, a lot of this is based off of how we're showing up, how we're treating ourselves with self-love. You know, if we don't love ourselves and we can't control the emotional outputs of what's going on, and we decide to go eat the Twinkie, and then that becomes 2,000 Twinkies, like there's a problem. So as far as habits, and I've heard you talk about some of these things, and they're in line with how I'm thinking too. What is the basis to start forming really good habits? And where is it that we usually fall off starting that habit?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've been working on this for 18 years, right? When I say what my morning routine is or my evening routine is, a lot of people will be like, oh, dude, you don't do that, or oh, that's unrealistic. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, actually, it's not. It took me 18 years, to get to where I'm at. And I'm still growing and I'm still learning. But I think where a lot of people fail when they're trying to be the best version of themselves is they want it all and they want it now. And that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Patience is everything. Mm-hmm. And so I like to say, hey, like, you want to lose 20 pounds. Okay. Wake up an hour earlier. Just start there. Mm-hmm. Just wake up an hour earlier. Don't think about it forever. Just start your day an hour earlier. If that means setting the alarm an hour earlier, going to bed an hour earlier, that's one thing that you could start with. Mm-hmm. Wake up an hour earlier. And they're like, well, how is that going to help me lose weight? And I'm like, because if I told you to go to the gym, cut your calories in half, drink a gallon of water a day, go to bed earlier, wake up earlier, walk 10,000 steps a day, you'd be like, what fucking... You might say, oh, yeah, I'll do that, and it'll last a day. Mm-hmm. And then it'd be taking on way too much, and you crash and burn. So I like to say it's a baby step approach to a life of optimism and positivity, right? Like you cannot become the person you envision or see yourself or want to be as like the best version of yourself overnight. It doesn't happen. Anybody who you see that's posting a picture with Rolls Royces and Lambos and private jets, if it is real, it hasn't happened overnight.
Yeah.
It just hasn't. And even though maybe, like there are some lucky people that things are, when I got sober, straight up, I was probably like 25 pounds overweight, 25 pounds overweight when I got sober. In 90 days, I was in the best shape of my life. Mm. And so I'm saying that there's so much we can do, but the place that I think most people fail when they're trying to change for the better is trying to do it all at once.
Yeah, 0 to 100.
Doesn't work. It never works. That's why dieting doesn't really work long term.
Nope.
Like I think changing your lifestyle slowly over time absolutely works. I'm a living, breathing example of it.
Yeah.
I know it works. But when you try to do it today, quit smoking, quit drinking, quit sugar, quit bread, quit burger, quit Twinkie, quit sleeping, quit sitting. This shit is unrealistic.
Yeah.
Man, those ketone IQs got me flowing right now.
So it's simple. So 10,000 steps a day. That is my goal too. That every day I walk 10,000 steps. My rest day. It's really hard to get it because I really take the rest day so literal. Like I am resting. Mm-hmm. But for me, knowing how my day is, I walk to the gym, I train, I walk home. So on that walk, I'm listening to a podcast, a book. So that's a habit of getting ready. Then I train. Then I walk back and kind of take in what I train, and then I move on with my day. That already is 5,000 steps. Mm-hmm. So like, okay, I'm halfway to that goal.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll be on 10 Zooms a day, and I'm like, I'm not going nowhere. Or I'm sitting on a painting or something, and I'm like, oh, I'm at 7,800 steps. How am I going to get this next 10,000? Mm-hmm. So little things like that. But 10,000 steps was a huge magic number for me and my wife. We just started putting that as a habit.
Yeah.
and just for movement and clarity, and that's where I meditate and I'll take my son on a walk, take the dog on a walk.
I think that's a huge one. You know, when you don't live in a city, it's hard. 10,000 steps. When you live in a city is easy. New York City, for instance, when I'm in this city, I'm intentionally walking because now that I live upstate, if I want to get steps in, which I do every day, I have to plan my walk. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm going to the train, I'm going to a meeting, I'm walking over here, I'm walking in. So it's not a no-brainer for people, you know, but it's an amazing habit to do. I think probably the number one best decision I made habit-wise was waking up before the sun. Always. The sun never comes up before me, ever. And because the way I sort of break it down, right? I'm a selfish dude. Everybody's selfish.
Yeah.
We just are, you know, like we just are. However, because I'm a dad and a husband and a business owner, I didn't want to sacrifice time with my family and my business so that I can win, so I can be the best. I just didn't want to do that. So I wake up, you know, at 4:45 in the morning so that I've got plenty of time to get the shit done that I want to get done. The first hour and a half of my day, every day, is pure self-indulgence, pure, in the best possible way. And so I wake up at 4:45. So I would say the number one habit, that's why when you ask me, you know, like if I say if there's anything you do, wake up an hour earlier. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because if you can get into the habit of waking up an hour earlier, then I can help you fill that time with things that are going to change your life. But if you can't even commit to waking up an hour earlier, I can't really help you. That's like the number one thing, if you can wake up earlier. But I'll walk you through my morning habits because I think it's great to share and it's a lot. And so not everybody is going to do them all, but hearing them could be beneficial. So I wake up at 4:45 in the morning. The first thing I do every single morning is I smile immediately. So I got an eye mask on, flip back my eye mask, open my eyes, I look up at the ceiling, and I smile ear to ear. Big, fat, shit-eating, pearly white teeth grin, you know? And I do it for 15, 20 seconds, and I immediately jump into gratitude. So, like, that's how I wake up. It's awkward. It's weird. Still, years of doing it still feels funky.
Yeah.
But it's so weird that it'll give me, not every morning, but like when I actually think about what's happening when I'm doing it, I'll get a little chuckle, like an out loud laugh. And like you start your day with a chuckle, like a real one, that's a huge win, you know? But the smile in general just starts throwing, you know, serotonin and into the bloodstream. So I start off like that. Most people wake up with anxiety, stress, and like impendent doom. And
check the phone. What's on fire?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, so if you can wake up doing with the exact opposite with a big fat smile, forced, it's a good way to go. And then I get up with intention. So I don't like sort of roll out of bed. Like I'm like, I like jump up, throw my feet down on the ground. I make my way into the bathroom. If I'm competing, I piss and then I weigh myself. And then I wash my face. I floss my teeth with this water pick that I love. Full transparency, I didn't floss my teeth for years. Like I just didn't. It was gross. You know, like my wife would be like, "You're disgusting." I just didn't floss my teeth. Yeah. I didn't like doing it. And then a couple years ago, I found this water pick, and I love the water pick. So I do the water pick. I brush my teeth, and then I have a whole skincare thing that I do in the morning. And I know that I'm about to go into the sauna or work out. doesn't matter to me. It's self-love. It's not about like making my skin the most amazing. It's about like me taking 2 to 3 minutes to wash my face, hit it with a serum, hit it with some toner, and then some moisturizer. And I do it every day. And it makes me feel awesome in the morning. And then I immediately drop down on my knees and I have a morning prayer practice that I say. I've been saying the same prayer for years and years. It's really my way of asking for help. I'm not a religious dude, although I have no, judgment on religion. I just know that for me, asking for help was one of the things that I struggled with most in my life. And so if I could start my day with asking God for help in every way possible, not materially, just to be the best version of myself. So I do that. And then I bang out 50 push-ups, and then I sneak back into the bedroom past my wife. I make my way downstairs. For years, I would do recently, about 6 months ago, I got a sauna and a cold plunge. So I do a lot of my morning stuff now in the sauna, but I'll leave the sauna aside. Typically, I walk downstairs, I drink 20 ounces of water with lemon and sea salt, or pink Himalayan salt to hydrate my body. A lot of us walk through life dehydrated, not knowing it. Dehydration really makes us crummy people, tired people. Recovery is like cut in half when you're dehydrated. So I like to hydrate myself immediately. I hydrate with water. I drink some athletic greens. And then I light a candle in my little breakfast table. And I meditate for 10 minutes. And then after my meditation, I make some coffee, fire up the coffee, sit down with my coffee, and I journal. Right after I journal, I read. And typically, this one is like 6 a.m. or so. My older son makes his way into the kitchen where I'm at, and he's been doing this every morning since he can make his way down the stairs. And he curls up into my lap, and it's like my favorite part of the day. Like it's still dark pretty much. The candle's lit. I've just done all these amazing things, and I'm like hugging my son, who I love so much. And then I transition from self-love, self-indulgence, Mike, to full family until 7:30, where I either take my kids to school or my wife will take them to school. If my wife takes them to school, I go straight to the gym. Or if I take them to school, I drop them off, and then I go to the gym. I work out, and then I eat my Kreatures oats. And then I'm at my desk, and that's how I start my day every day. And I'm kind of bulletproof after that. There's very few things that can shake me after really stacking all those things in a row.
When you set yourself up with that many victories before you even leave the house, what can put you down? But also, if you think about it, it does sound like a lot. It sounds daunting. Some people might be, whoa, this guy is like a maniac, like he's a robot, look at him. But if we actually take inventory of our actual routine, because everything we do is a routine, and make a list of what you're doing, you're probably doing a lot of things too, and it might be a really good list, but is it setting yourself up to win? Is it setting yourself up for self-love? That morning routine, sometimes at night I'm like, I'm too tired to wash my face right now, but I'm like, no. And I do it. So I have to choose. Everything I do is a choice. Flossing. That's right. I really don't want to floss. No, I'm going to choose to floss. So you're also actively, consistently choosing.
And you know what's so interesting that you say that? Because I still, after all the years of doing these things, I still have that same thing at night. I wash my face. I do the whole thing. Almost every time I'm like, oh, man. But I think when you choose to say yes, like this morning, I was meditating. I just didn't want to meditate. Sometimes I do a guided meditation, but most of the time I just count 100 breaths, 100 long, slow breaths. I got to 50 breaths, and I was battling, like, man, just let's just cut it in half today. But I chose to fight it and do it. And every time you do that, you win.
Yeah.
That's the winning decision. That's the decision that you make that's either you either turn right or you turn left. You turn right, you fucking win, and you know it. You turn left, might be a bear down that path. You know what I'm saying? That's going to take you out.
And that's the thing. We're making it so, it sounds simple, but it's true. Like, you know how many times I don't want to work out? But I'm like, no, it's Monday. I go train. You never regret doing it after the fact. But all the conversations we're having prior to that, and that's also a waste of energy.
You get one day, dude. We get one day.
Yeah.
You know, we get one. I've said this so many times because it's just clear as day. Yesterday, it's a goner, man. No matter what happened yesterday, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. There is not a single thing you can do to change it. Nothing.
Nope.
You can be a better person today.
Yeah.
But you cannot be a better person yesterday, right? Like it's gone. And tomorrow, you can set yourself up to be a better person tomorrow, but you cannot be right now a better person tomorrow. All you can do is be a better person right now. And we're guaranteed this moment, this time. So if you don't take the opportunity to say, I'm going to do it, fight that urge to just like want to grab the candy bar, like you have the choice. You have the option. You have it. Am I going to like get mad and like act out in anger when my wife says something that I don't like? Do I really need to? Like, should I say that thing, or should I pick my battle and like back off and take a breath, let some air in, and like give it like 5 minutes, and it's gonna go. Like this anger feeling is gonna go away. Yeah. But if I act on it and like say that thing that I know is gonna totally fucking destroy her, the whole day is done. You choose. Am I gonna go to the gym? God, I'm tired. I'm sore. I'm gonna go because I know that in an hour and a half, when it's all said and done, man, I'm stoked.
Yeah. Always better for it. Doesn't matter how I feel. And look, you can go, we'll just use the gym as an example. Yeah, if you're not feeling great that day, you're a little sore that day, you're a little tired, making the choice to go is the first win. But just modify what you're doing. Do more mobility. Stretch more, sweat a little, do something that's going to get you out of that and feeling better also.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely also, like, I think we should certainly listen to our bodies, right? Like, if you feel sick, don't go to the gym. Yeah. You know, maybe lie down and stretch. Do something that's not going to make you more sick. But if you're just tired and, you know, your legs are a little sore from a workout 2 days ago, go to the gym and do something else, you know, because I don't know a single person who walked into a gym and worked out, got a good sweat on, and walked out feeling worse than when they walked in. It's like magic.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? It is like magic. Like it is like everybody talks about that like magic pill, this quick fix, the switch that they wish they had. That's it. You know?
That choice is that pill.
Yeah.
There's no red or blue pill.
That's it.
So we're coming up on the holidays. We're coming up on New Year's. We were talking about a little bit earlier how New Year's resolutions really like drive me bananas. I feel like when we choose a resolution, we're actually choosing, in most cases, and I'm only observing from my experiences, setting ourselves up to fail. And that's because we're going from 0 to 100. And in the holidays, I feel like if you're starting to think about the end of the year and creating good habits, like, oh, in January 1st, I'm going to start this. Well, why not now? Today is someday. Let's start that now. So, dude, let's wake up 1 hour earlier. That's that one habit. Like, I love that. I used to tell people, start journaling what you're eating. And if they would do it for 2 weeks, because I used to do personal training and stuff way before I became what I am now, if they actually did it for the 2 weeks and then showed me the journal, I would take them on as a client. But if they didn't even do it or start it, I'm like, you're not going to be a client. And I wouldn't, that was my first parameter to say, what am I going to spend time with you? Because it's a relationship and the psychology. I mean, I was basically their therapist more than anything else.
It's a great, it's, you know, definitely a relevant topic to talk about. I don't believe in a New Year's resolution. I just said you can't be the best version of yourself tomorrow. You just physically can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So thinking about being the best version of yourself in 2 months is even further out of the mix.
Or choosing to be on the first, right? Yeah.
Right. Like the way I see it is everybody wants to be rich. I mean, maybe not everybody, but most people do, you know? You're not going to say, I want to be rich on the first. I want to start being rich on the first.
You can't.
You're like, no. I'm going to go. Like if that's a goal of mine, today I start trying to figure out how to make it work. And, you know, you're not like, oh, I'm going to stop being broke today. You know, you're like, oh, I'm going to start putting the pieces together. And so the New Year's resolution is like, I'm going to stop smoking on New Year's, or I'm going to stop eating sugar. I'm going to stop, you know, I'm going to start going to the gym. I kind of look at it, I go always back to this thing. We're guaranteed a day. What happens if by the first, you know, something catastrophic happens? Like, why would you wait to do something that's going to make you the best possible version of yourself? Why would you wait 2 months? Like,
and you're not guaranteed that. You might not wake up a month from now.
Tomorrow. You might, you know, I mean, I don't walk around feeling that way, but I do know that I am guaranteed this time.
Yeah.
Today. And if there's something that I want to do, if I'm not doing it now, I run the risk of never being able to do it, you know? And so I kind of bring it back to that whole thing. And I also, you know, the pressure that we build around a like landmine, you know, like it's there's too much pressure that goes along with it. Everybody builds this pressure. I'm in the wellness business now. The sales in January are like,
oh yeah, Q1
you know,
for you.
It's just it's through the roof because everybody is like, that's it. This is the time. And why be like everyone? Why don't like the time should be right now? Go for it. You know, start small. Yeah. It does. No matter how you look at it, no matter how hard you try, you're not losing 20 pounds in a day. It doesn't happen. You're not losing 5 pounds. You're not losing 10 pounds. You're not losing 20 pounds safely. Let me not even. Yeah. That's different. Right. But you're not losing 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds, 100 pounds today. This is not happening. It takes time. And so no matter what your goal is, start right now because this is what you're given.
Yeah.
And, you know, and don't put too much pressure on yourself to start it all.
And the follow-up I have to that is when you do it, if you don't start it that way, it's not staying off. Those habits are going to fall off because you're going to go right back to it because you took a shortcut. You did everything other than creating a really good habit or a really good routine or an actual choice of like, this is self-love. I'm doing it for me.
Totally. And one other thing that I'll just say that I think also kind of adds a layer of accountability. No one wants to be a shit talker. You might, like, no one wants to be someone that says they're going to do things and doesn't do them. No one wants to be, but there's a lot of talkers, right? Yeah. And I try not to judge it because it's so hard, right? It's just so hard to live a life of consistency, to live a life of commitment, to live a life of discipline. It is very hard. But I promise, and to anybody listening, like, It is absolutely possible and the solution to absolute freedom and happiness. Hands down, 100%. I got it tattooed on my hand. That's how that's how much I believe in discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline is also looked at as this like negative thing, right? Like you think discipline, like, oh, your parents discipline you or your teacher discipline you or the military is discipline. And yes, all those things, sure. But there's such an awesomeness to discipline that we don't talk enough about. Mm-hmm. When you know what you're doing, when you know what you've got to do, all the other time that you're not doing exactly what you got to do is free time. When you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you got to do, your whole life is in shackles because you don't actually have any structure. So there's all these things and you're kind of like over here and over there and over here and over there and like you're not getting anything done and there's all this stress because you don't have any structure. You're locked up. But if you know what you got to do, when you got to do it, man, you got so much more time, so much more opportunity to say, yes, I want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. Why? Because I know I have to do this and I have to do this, you know? And so I think like discipline is such a crucial component to this conversation where anybody can be disciplined. There's not an excuse in the world that you can tell me that makes you different than me. Anyone. So I just finished with this thought on that. Like, if you're thinking about doing something that's big for yourself, don't tell people until you start doing it. Don't start telling everybody that you're going to do this thing because you put yourself in a tough spot. But once you start doing it, then tell people because they're going to hold you accountable. But it sucks for people to hold you accountable for something that you've never actually tried to do.
Yes.
And you become the boy or the girl that cried wolf. And no one's going to believe you or have the faith or confidence after a certain amount of times of you saying, I'm going to, you know, I mean, the sober community, it's brutal. You know, people are like, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop. I know it's possible. Anybody who's also listening who's struggling with any sort of addiction thing, I'm telling you, there is a solution. I know hundreds, probably thousands of people who are living a life beyond what they ever thought they could possibly be living, who were shooting heroin like me. There is a solution. It is real. You do not have to be doing what you're doing. You choose to. Whether you think it's got you and you can't stop, I'm here to tell you, you can stop. You can stop. You have the choice. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. It's going to take humility and support and all these things. But I'm telling you that, like, just like the person who's trying to lose 100 pounds, you're walking over to the pantry or the snack drawer. You're made the decision. It's locked in. Your obsession has now become a craving because you're in it. There is still chance. There is still hope that last foot and a half between you and the drawer, you and the cookies, where you can stop. You could stop yourself. You could open the window, let the air breeze in, smile. I don't need this. I want it. I don't need it. Turn and walk away. You can. It's very possible. Yeah. If you think about it, right? Like
truth, yeah. Yeah. I'm loving it. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask you my last and favorite question. How do you define living a life through love?
How do I define living a life through love? I really believe that it starts with loving yourself on a daily basis. Through kindness and patience and self-awareness and leniency, But I really do believe that living a life through love is ultimately, it starts with you. And then once you fill that cup, totally possible to love other people genuinely without just, you don't even have to say it. You know what I mean? It's like, it exudes because I feel like love is something that's very hard to fake. You know, love is like one of the most authentic things, right? And when you really love, like you could feel it almost tangibly. Like my kid, I obviously love my wife, but there's a different love between my wife and my kids. My kids, like I could genuinely almost grab the feeling, which is weird to explain. But, and I know that if I hated myself and if I was so consumed with how shitty of a person I am or how much I'm a loser or how, unattractive or short or stupid or fat or whatever, like all those things that we can easily tell ourselves, there's no way loving anyone else because I hate,
a victim mindset, right?
So yeah, I think it starts with that, like turn negative self-talk into positive self-talk at every opportunity and really do things, pluck a few things from my morning routine and throw them in. Don't do them all. It's a stupid idea, but pluck a few of them, and start with that. Even waking up an hour earlier, imagine like you add an hour to your day every day, productive hour, 7 hours a week, 365 hours a year. It's like 15 straight days of productive life. You've just added positive, loving hours into your life,
the thing with the hour, because that's the thing that I'm going to start working on, because I wake up no matter what at 6. But when we had my son, we started creating some rules, like you got to be home by 6. I don't take work home, all these things. But now as he gets older, it's like, well, if we have dinner at 5:30, he's going to, like, I have to start getting to bed home earlier to be with my family and be there because I'm here working. But as an entrepreneur running all these things, you're like, where am I going to get this time? Because I'm not going to sacrifice my gym. That is me, my selfish thing. And I go at 7. Where can I find that? I got to wake up an hour earlier. So that day is coming where I need to get closer to the 4 a.m. club because I'm not going to sacrifice it, but also I've got to continue working and building on this, and I'm not going to sacrifice family either. It's a balance. Those are 100%. Choices. Yeah.
You adding an hour to your life is amazing, man. It's amazing. And what does it mean? It means you got to go to bed an hour earlier, right? You don't want to sacrifice the most beneficial recovery time, which is our sleep, for being productive, because ultimately that's going to backfire. But who gives a shit, man? Go to bed an hour earlier.
Plus our kids are asleep. So am I missing time with them? No, if I'm there. So that's how I'm looking at it. He's already asleep. So I should go to sleep. Then I get up earlier. Then I could do all my me things.
And then, one last thing I also would want to say on the last question that you asked, because I think it's important to mention. The beauty of having this life of habit and structure and discipline is that when you don't do those things, it's all good. That's another act of self-care and self-love, because like I just know that I'm going to hop right back on the horse. Like if I had been out at an event, right? I'm at an event. It's late. I don't like doing that in general, but whatever. Like I get home at 11, 12. I get to bed by 1. I'm not waking up at 5 just because I'm the guy that wakes up at 5.
Yeah.
That's useless. I'll sleep till 6 or 7 and be all good. And if I don't get my gym and my sauna and my cold plunge, because I've added those things to my morning practice, if I don't get those things, it's all good. I'm going to get them tomorrow. I don't beat myself up now that this is my life, and that's like one piece where this could go sideways for people.
Where it derails you.
Where they're like, oh man, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, that is the wrong way. It's every day you make decisions, you make the best possible decisions for the greater good of your self-love and your life so that ultimately you can be of service to everyone around you. Because that's where that's the real magic sauce, right? Where like you provide, you know, and you provide best when you do all those other things personally. But like, if you fall into the trap where you're like, oh my God, man, I couldn't get to the gym all day obsessing. Like shit happened in the morning. You couldn't get to the gym all day obsessing. God, man, it's like all good. It's all good. You going to the gym right now today isn't going to change your life. So, it's all good. Go tomorrow. Like, but I'm not saying to do that if you're not committed to the life.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
it's also conscious. You're consciously choosing like this happened, so this I need to make a difference in the routine for X, Y, and Z. It's still all in the matter of benefit, but I can see where the negative obsession comes.
Yep.
Because I remember back in super competitive CrossFit days, it was zone diet. Oh, if I didn't measure my blocks, everything was blocks. Like it became a sickness. It took a while for me to really break that.
Yep. Yeah, no. I mean, me too with bodybuilding, you know? Every single gram, ounce, they're all super, like, not very good healthy-wise. Like, you know, mentally, because you miss it. You know. And I learned that now I'm also getting a little older. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to put in 2.5 hours a day working out. You know, it's probably not good for me.
We have dad strength now. There's also muscle maturity, right? There's a point where like I look like this now, but 20 years ago I didn't. And you can maintain things. So there's also some of that plays into effect. But amazing. Thank you so much for opening up, for coming in, for sharing.
No, dude. Thanks for having me.
Life is now. Life's going to happen to us. Let's create those routines. And where can everybody find you, Michael?
You can find me on at Michael Chernow everywhere, pretty much. And you could Creatures of Habit at Creatures of Habit. If anybody wants to try Creatures of Habit,
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can just go onto the website, Creatures of Habit with a K, creaturesofhabit.com. And for your listeners, KOHLOVE 20 for 20% off. KOHLOV 20. I thought that would be a nice thing to do. 20% off the site. And I just want to say one last thing. Tell the people you love them. Often.
Yeah.
We don't do that enough. And when you tell the people you love them often, you'll love them more. and they will and they'll love you back.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you, brother. This is great.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Live Through Love. If you love this episode, you'll love this episode.